And now is the time for the affirmative cross-examination of negative. Mr. Albrecht, you have 20 minutes to cross-examine Turretfinan. You may begin when you're ready.
Turretfinan, I noticed in your opening statement that you mentioned that Josephus provides a list. I'm curious, what are the books that Josephus lists in the Canon of Scripture of the Jews?
He lists, I want to say, I don't have his entire list memorized, but my recollection is that he lists everything except Esther, but in the process he combines some books, which is sort of one of the practices of the day.
Turretfinan, are you sure that in Josephus' list that he actually mentions that he's combined certain books, or is that a mere assumption of yours?
Well, it's certainly not merely of mine, but it is an inference that's drawn from listing the first book of, for example, in the case of Jeremiah, listing Jeremiah without listing Lamentations is taken as being listing Jeremiah with Lamentations. Certainly, if someone was looking for absolute proof that that's what he meant, it might be quite hard to produce.
So your position is that Josephus does enumerate the books of his list. Am I correct?
When you say enumerate, he gives. I think I'm trying to remember now what his lists, what the actual words that he used in this Antiquities of the Jews was. I think he used a number.
Yeah,
and then
you're correct.
Which those,
yeah, he gives
which books those were.
Right, he gives the number 22, but again, this is a question, and I'm cross-examining you, so I won't go into greater detail, but I'll simply say that Josephus does not list the books that are within the number 22. I was trying to get you to give me a list, because in your opening you said that he provides a list, and it is my contention that he indeed does not provide a comprehensive list of what all the 22 books are. Okay, well, I'll pass that question over. Turretfinan, is the ancient Jewish canon identical to that of Protestantism, or what you would consider the ancient Jewish canon?
Yes, if I thought that Jesus had a different Old Testament canon than I did, I'd change my canon to match what Jesus had. That's the reason I accept the canon that I use, because I think it's the same one Jesus had.
Can you give me a positive proof of that? Can you give me an ancient source that shows that the ancient Jewish canon is identical to yours, basically, to the Protestant one?
You mean like an ancient list of a Hebrew list where it comes out exactly?
No, you can give me one early person. You don't have to give me an ancient list. That's fine.
Well, an early person who has the same exact list,
right?
Without combining books.
Well, specifically, even if he combines books, it really doesn't matter. Specifically, without referencing, obviously, a Christian wouldn't be in tune with this argument, because I'm asking for an ancient Jewish canon identical to yours. So it doesn't matter if he combines books. I just want to know if you can give me one person. That's all I really want.
Well, I can't think of any Jewish lists.
Well, I'm not necessarily a list. Maybe a person, a rabbi, or any individual. I just want a single source prior to the time of Christ, or even during Christ's lifetime, that lists the current Protestant books as Scripture.
Well, they're not just Protestant books. I mean, everybody
obviously,
agrees
of course. Oh yeah, I'm referring to the fact that relegating the canon to that of Protestantism. That's what I meant when I said that.
Yeah, I can't recall offhand a specific person in the first century who debates the subject, except for the Jamnia era Jews, which would be, I'm assuming, too late for what your question is asking.
What about the second century? What about the second century? So you would list Josephus as one person?
Well, he's a person who rejects these deuterocanonicals.
And if Josephus, if you can't list the books that Josephus lists in his listing of Scripture, how do you know that he rejects the deuterocanonical books?
In other words, your question is
if you're unable to give me the catalog of books that Josephus uses, my question is, how can you contend that he rejects every single deuterocanonical book?
And I guess there's a couple of ways that you could come to that conclusion. One is the use of this numbering system. The fact that he gives a number of the books.
Right, but that number excuse me, yep. that number would not coincide with that of Protestantism. The normal number that the Protestants use, as Mr. White has even pointed out, is 24, and Josephus lists 22. So that's why my question is, if you can't list the books that Josephus calls Canon of Scripture, how are you certain that he rejected the deuterocanonical books, every single one?
Well, I mean, again, I think, let's say we said if he lists fewer than the number of that you believe we should be looking for, this 24, instead of 24 he lists 22. I don't see how it's even possible he could be listing all the deuterocanonical on that list. But perhaps I've misunderstood your question.
Well, let me phrase it a little simpler. Okay, you would agree, as James White and pretty much any Protestant that takes this position says, you would agree that the number, that we're looking for is 24. So when we see the number 22 in Josephus, you would definitely be of the persuasion that he must have lumped some books together. My question is, if we don't know what books he lumped together, or we don't really even know what books he's enumerating here, how can you be certain that he rejected all or really any of the deuterocanonical books?
The way that one would obtain that type of information by looking at other people with lists that are of similar length to see which ones are included in short 22 or 24 length lists, and that would be one way that we would go about doing it. So if you take the example of Athanasius, his 22 book list was Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel as 1st and 2nd Kings, 3rd and 4th Kings as what we would call 1st and 2nd Kings.
Right, I understand. I understand, but my question was an ancient Jewish source. I wasn't specifically dealing with Athanasius, but I'll move on to another question if that's all right with you.